Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're going to be talking about Agrias in Final Fantasy Tactics. We're going to go over like a complete guide for her, talk about her stats, her character's story, but then most importantly, how to build her character in Final Fantasy Tactics for once you first get her to then as the story progresses on and then you reach the end game, how I like to build her out to make her an absolute powerhouse. Agrias is one of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy Tactics, or just my favorite characters in general and in like fantasy settings, so really excited about this one. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and let's get started. Now, a quick backstory on Agrias Oaks. She's part of a noble family where she had an older brother who passed away during the 50-year war. And because of that, her father then tried to raise Agrias as a second-born son that he could eventually pass the mantle of their name off to.
I know about you, Agrias, more than you care to assume. Your brother, the heir to the house, had died, and so your father raised you as a man that you might lead instead. That is why you are become what you are. A girl who knows naught save being the princess's keeper. Do you truly find fulfillment in that? In living as a man? If so, I pity you.
Do not feign concern for me. I see your words for what they are. Fear. The fear of a woman who defies your expectations, or indeed anyone who fits not your view of the world. To protect your fragile self-worth, you scorn those who share not your values. Those such as myself and Ramza. But I will not judge you for your narrow-mindedness, nor will I mock or despise you. Our worlds are simply different. Ever will there be things we struggle to comprehend about each other.
Why use so many words when you could just call me an old relic?
As I said, I've no intention of mocking you. Cling to your values if that is your wont. I will do the same, as will Ramza. Even if understanding eludes us, I accept that you are the product of your experiences.
Ha! You do mock me, but I'll have you know I've heard worse.
She then joined the Lion's Guard, which are basically the bodyguards for the crown, but that Lion's Guard's faction actually works under the Council. And just as a reminder, the Council and Duke Goltana are in alliance against Duke Larg and the current Queen. And just before the game actually begins, that's when Agrias is actually dispatched to protect Princess Ivalice. That order was given by the Council, and that's when we meet up with them at the beginning of the game that continues on past the prologue to Chapter 2. Now remember, in Ivalice, noble women are not really expected to be on the battlefield. You get most of this information from the exchange between Gafgarian and Agrias when you fight Gafgarian at the gate. He's basically sitting there telling Agrias, why are you on the battlefield? You should be wearing a dress. But Agrias, she's also kind of like broken free from those, I would say, social chains that usually, noble women not supposed to be fighting. It's why I think Agrias is so loyal to Ivalice, because Agrias probably looks at the situation that Ivalice is in and can sympathize with it because of her upbringing. And I think this all culminates to Agrias' character in the way she's presented in this game, where she is very fiercely loyal, she's very duty-bound, and she's just trying to do the right thing by Ivalice, and obviously what her station is as a knight. She's almost like Ramza in that sense, but I would say Agrias is a little more clear on her purpose. But that is her backstory out of the way. Let's get on to her character stats and then how to build her out to really get the most out of this Holy Knight. Now, you pick Agrias up at near the end of Chapter 2. She was with you as a guest character prior to that, but you have no control over her until you actually recruit her, again, at the end of Chapter 2. Now, Agrias' stats, actually, her sprite model, by the way, for those of you that are familiar with Tactics Ogre, she looks a hell of a lot like Ravnus. And that is no coincidence. Ravnus is almost like the progenitor of Agrias. Backstory-wise, not exactly the same. Ravnus is more of a mixed blood between these two clans, and she has like trouble finding her place, I would say, in that conflict. But the sprite model, yeah, there's no denying these two are very, very similar. Now, if we look at the Holy Knight job, it is a Knight of the Faith baptized by the Church. That is what unlocks the Holy Sword abilities, those skills. A lot of people question, man, why doesn't Ramza learn any of these Holy Knight abilities based off of like his father's position? And it's right there in the text, baptized by the Church. The Church, well, they brand Ramza a heretic. So lore-wise, story-wise, that would have never made sense. You could have maybe made an argument for him learning some of the Dark Knight swords, so like Shadowblade from Gafgarian. That would have been pretty cool. But back to Holy Knight here. For Agrias, she has her stats. She has high magic attack and a little bit lower in physical attack and high HP. The weird thing is that the Holy Knight swords, those abilities, they go off of your weapon and then your physical attack ability. But Agrias, on the other hand here, low attack power, physical attack, I should say. So we need to address that if we want to make her basically as powerful as she can be. So a lot of items and equipment that we are aiming for, they're going to be bumping up our physical attack power. Now, when you pick up Agrias, I would build her out to be something like this here, where we lean into her magic side with white magics. She already has white mage unlocked, so this is really simple to get into, and I would really prioritize getting cure, raise, and then maybe go for regen, protect, and shell. This Agrias here, right now in this save file, this is really right when you pick her up. So you can make this build work very early on. I went with auto potion as a reaction, but if you want to go for more an offensive reaction, counter works extremely well. And we're going to pick up counter really easily because we need to go through monk to get to geomancer. In geomancer, we're picking up attack boost. This is already going to help out our physical attack. And this is probably the best support ability, I think, for Agrias across the board because, again, talking about we need to bump up her physical attack for her holy swords here. And as far as the holy swords, the first ones that I'd be picking up really is just Hollowed Bolt. This is by far one of the best ones. They're all really good. But Hollowed Bolt, this is what you're probably going to be using the most often. It has really good range, does that cross shape area effect as well, and then it can silence targets. That's not so important, but the attack power on it, the physical attack power on it, is really high. And then she obviously comes with Judgment Blade here. This is really good for if you're farming mobs, or if you don't want to kill a target, but you want to try to get that stop effect on them so you can farm up JP or whatever. Love Judgment Blade for that. And these other ones are really good. Cleansing Strike here, I'd probably hold off on. This puts Doom on a target, but Northswain's Strike here has a chance for that instant KO. This is a little bit better in my opinion. And then Divine Ruination, that line AoE, this is really strong as well with that confusion effect. All the Knight sword abilities here, they're extremely powerful. Really good overall. I'd pick them all up eventually. But from white magics here, we already went over that a little bit and we talked about our reaction. Movement wise, you're probably just going to be stuck with movement +1 for a while. But let's move on to the equipment. You should obviously be giving her the best sword, the best shield and helmet. Armor wise, you could give her robes because she is using white magic and something like raise is going to cost us 10 MP. So going with robes, not a bad idea. You are a Holy Knight, so you have high HP compared to the other jobs. So survivability wise, I think you're already set, especially with your best shield as well. We have a lot of we're really tanky overall. Accessory wise, she comes or you get Diamond Bracelet right when you get Agrias, and this is really good for her stats here because this is going to bump up your physical attack and your magic attack as well, which is perfect for this character. Later on, we will get something like the bracers, which are going to bump up your physical attack even more, and I'd probably prioritize that if you don't have some of the perfumes. But just in chapter 2 here, I would build her out to be something like this. Now, as you progress through the game, you're getting through chapter 3, chapter 4. I would get some more of the white mage abilities, especially something like re-raise. Everything else, though, I wouldn't try to master white mage because that can take a while. So I'd rather prioritize moving into something like Time Mage and making sure you get Oracle unlocked so you get the Mana Shield, Mana Font combination. These two abilities you should have on basically every character. It makes your party very tanky and you're able to, take hits like from Cyclops, that summon, or like Zodiark. And it's just like a really meta combination that you definitely want, especially on somebody like Agrias here. And I will say, if you have an entire party and they're all rocking Chantage here. So Chantage, this gives you regen and re-raise as far as your characters. If you have a full party with all these on, you really don't need white magic anymore. And instead, I would just give Agrias time magics and just as simple as just using haste. Just having her haste everybody. That can be really helpful because the offensive nature of the Holy Swords, damage-wise from Agrias, we're absolutely covered. And then again, these all have additional effects, that status ailments that can be inflicted. Holy Swords are amazing for that. So we never need to take a secondary job for, again, offense and damage. We have that covered. So that's why either white magic or time mage, that's what I'd be focusing on for her, again, in that chapter 3, Chapter 4. So let's now cover what I would do as far as endgame build for Agrias to make her like just perfect. Some would actually say Agrias is already perfect, and you know what? You're right. But as far as endgame, this is the combination I love here, and it's very similar to my knight builds here, where I want Soulbind as my reaction ability because this works at range, and for melee characters, when they hit you, you're gonna return half that damage, and it'll heal you for the other half. I just love it. It's very universal. Does the both offensive and a survivability reaction. Perfect. Keeping attack boost. Just, there's no question about it. I love attack boost on Agrias. It synergizes with her holy swords. Some people would argue dual wield because then you can have 2 knight swords, and knight swords come with their own buffs, so you get 2 really good buffs. That's true, but I just like Agrias to have a shield. Dual wield I usually reserve for somebody like Cid instead. But I mean, there's nothing saying you can't go dual wield. I'm just going with like my own headcanon on how I like to build Agrias out, and it just feels natural for her to be more like a paladin, I would say. So having that defensive nature as well as the offensive and support abilities as well. As far as the movement ability, teleport, just kind of a no-brainer, lets you, zip around the battlefield. Height, really not a problem anymore. If it is a more of a flat terrain, I would go with just movement +2 because Agrias is female. They don't get access to movement +3. They get jump +3, which is kind of not so great because we also have abilities like, or movement abilities like ignore elevation, which is just far better than jump 3. So that's why it's just movement +2 or teleport, or hell, even fly. Fly's really cool as well. But those are kind of the movement abilities I would stick to. Now, moving to the gameplay section, I thought we'd just do the gallows fight here and really just highlight what Agrias can do. This is the first story mission you can use Agrias in, and this is what makes her knight swords so good because they ignore height elevation. We already hurt this time mage here with a little bit of a Shiva from our black mage there, and we can just use Agrias to finish them off safely from a pretty good distance away, especially elevation wise. We're way down here, and so her role, kind of similar to that of almost like a cleric from D&D, where she's in the front line, but she's not in like direct melee range because of her knight sword abilities. But you also don't want her in the back line where a summoner or a black mage would be, because her sword abilities, they have good range, but not that good of range. And so we want her somewhere sitting comfortably in the middle-ish, or even like closer to the front line. And I think that's where she sits perfectly. Now, hopefully we can have some, we have auto potion, by the way, as our reaction. Kind of feels like we're back in our let's play here because we haven't done like a full story fight in a while. But she has auto potion as a reaction ability. Our party, we're really not going to talk about them too much. We're just kind of going to blitz everybody down and then highlight Agrias. Although this party is really strong, we're just going to skip everybody's turn, and we're going to wait till it's Agrias, and then we can go from there. And it's kind of funny, but I'm hoping some of my characters go down because then I can use raise on them to show off, like, that other side of Agrias that we've kind of built her to be. But again, she just moves around, and we just use our knight sword abilities. We can actually hit her and Gafgary in here for a good chunk of damage. Oof. So good. Agrias is, well, the Holy Knight job is, I think, part of the reason why, broke his helmet, why a lot of characters kind of bounce off of the Knight job, is because Holy Knight from Agrias here just does it better, especially because they can hit from range, they can hit multiple targets at once, and there's just no denying how powerful that is. And it kind of fits the same role as a Knight as far as like where they fit into your party composition here. Oh, it really just might be showing off how good Black Mage and Summoner are. We'll try not to nuke everything, but I think we're going to do it anyways. Yeah, they're really good. Summons are really good. But back to Agrias. Yep, she is just that wrecking ball, that really high survivability class. She's almost like, we give her white magic mostly because she's not going to be the character or the party member that's going to fall in battle first. So she's almost like a really reliable source to keep the party alive, because at the very least, she'll be able to raise everybody up. And you could give her something like item and just have like potions in Phoenix Downs to do the similar job, and then you don't have to worry about MP and all that. But I just feel like story-wise, character-wise, just pairing her with white magic just makes so much more sense, and kind of, it fits her character. So that's why I like to keep her with white magic essentially the entire game. And what's great is she really doesn't need to invest too much into her movements because she doesn't need to run up to, a character who's that far away to hit them, especially if you take like Hollow Bolt first, because you can just keep chunking away at them from a good distance away. And eventually they'll go down. And while my entire party is crowding up over there, Agrias can just go right here and just smack them with a Hollow Bolt right there. I mean, I guess the Black Mage can kind of do the same thing, but this isn't your showcase Black Mage, so you're going to sit there and wait. And one more shot, and that should do it. Should put him in the critical state, and I think Gafgarian's going to peace out.
Curse me for a fool.
Curse you for a fool. See you later, Gafgarian. But anyways, y'all, that is a little bit of a showcase of Agrias there. Didn't get to show off the white magic side too much because my party was, a little too cracked as far as auto potion is a crazy reaction. It keeps everybody alive, even our spellcasters. But don't worry, I'll throw in some clips of Agrias doing some white magics because that is an important part about her kit. It's just the gallows fight there, you're kind of already into the thick of it, but I would say a random encounter and then other story missions where you are on just two different sides of the map. That's when you'd be doing some prep skills like protect, and then obviously if somebody goes down, you have the ability to raise them up at a good distance. And it all basically comes full circle as her being this Holy Knight, this paladin character. But alright y'all, that is the build, that is the video. Let me know what you think about Agrias here. She is by far one of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy Tactics. Just down to her sprite model, her artwork, her job, her unique job, the Holy Knight. She's made other appearances in other games. Final Fantasy, the War of the Visions. That's actually a really bad example because I don't think you can play that game anymore, and is kind of why I never invest into phone games because they can just go offline and be deleted despite how much money you spent on it. I didn't spend a dime on it, but I did get Agrias there, and she was great in that game. But she's also made an appearance in Final Fantasy XIV. One of my favorite Alliance Raid series is the Return to Ivalice. She's great there as well. But that is enough yapping from me. Let me know how you guys like to build Agrias. Of course, the way that I do it isn't the only way. But yep, that is it. I will see you guys next time. Peace and take care.